Hey y'all, welcome back to Got Fuels Motor Car Garage. So a few months ago, several months ago, I done just a tutorial on what to use with mixing basic paints, your basic Createx colors, not candies or anything like that. So this is going to be a custom mix tutorial. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to spray it and lay it down as well. So I'm planning on a silver sealer 6013 mixed with carbine blue. This is 2657. This is a candy. It's a candy 2.0. And normally Createx, when doing this, they would want you to mix it with their transparent sealer 1:1:1 and probably a little reducer. But I'm going for a very heavy silver metallic blue. I'm also going to mix up a little bit of the blue sealer first. That way I use less coats of the paint. So what I have here is Cosmic Sparkle 4520 Cosmic Sparkle silver. So this is a small flaked pearl silver, and when you mix this with a candy, you get a metallic flake in it as well. Now this is it's not huge, but the silver flake in it is a little bit larger than this. They also make a hot rod sparkle, and that's a pretty big sparkle. So I shook everything up but the sealer. Let's see. Let's get some reducer. Now in the sealers, their go-to reducer is 4011, but I've got a lot of this 4012 that I want to use up, so I'm going to use 4012 in it so I can begin to use some of it up. And being I'm going to do the body and the chassis, I'm going to mix up a little bit extra just to make sure I got enough. This hadn't been mixed in a while, so I want to make sure it's good and mixed. Mixed everything but this. Alright, so before I get to that, before I mix that up, yeah, it looks pretty mixed. Body prep. Pro tip, first of all, pro tip. At least take off your top to your Tamiya stand about once every 8 or 10 paint jobs. Throw it in the pond. Go give it a good scrubbing and a washing. You'll thank me later. Alright. Body prep. What do I do for body prep? First, of course, I clean up the body. I get the mold lines off of it. I engrave all the panel lines with the Tamiya panel line engraver. And then, right before I'm ready to shoot paint, I then go wash it with just plain Dawn soapy water. Normally, I would have time. I would just set it out and just leave it dry, but today I went and hit it with the blow dryer and dried it a little faster. Then, to make sure I didn't have any leftover soap residue, I hit it with the blue shop towels that you get advanced or whatever. But the sanding process is done with just these are 3M sanding sponges. That one's about due for a replacement, but I buy them in the big sheet. I get them from Advanced. You should be able to get them from any parts store as well. They're a couple of bucks for a big sheet. Cut 1-inch squares off of them. And when I scuff up the body, I don't dig the body. I just put finger weight on it. I get rid of the sheen off of it, and that's what I'm left with. So I also, pro tip, Fred Henry, if you got decals, which I'm not using decals, I got photo etch, take off your molded in emblems, take them off, sand them down, then put the decal on it. That comes from Fred Henry. Chassis, I've done the best I could. You're not going to get it perfect. Just scuff it up the best you can, get into the nooks and crannies the best you can, give it a good wash, and you're ready to go. So that's the paint prep. Nothing spectacular in it. So let's mix up the sealer first. A couple of sticks. I'm going to need a good bit of this because I'm doing the chassis as well. So I'm going to go maybe about 15 grams, which will be about 13 milliliters. I'll take a look at it and see what it looks like. Oop. All right, so we got about 15 grams there, which is going to be about 12, 13 milliliters. That should be enough. So 15 grams. I'm going to start with 10%. It seems like it's been a while since I've used it. I've used the sealer. It seems like it wants more, about 15%, but we'll go with a gram first. And that's a little bit over a gram. Give it a mix. Yeah, I can definitely tell this is a little bit too thick. Just a little. Createx likes to be thick. That's what little concerns me about the custom paint color I'm going to do. I almost wished I might have put a little bit of white in this to lighten it up a little bit. It's a little dark, but it'll be alright. Yeah, it's just a little too thick. So let's add half a more gram. I like doing this. Number one, it's quicker. Number two, it reminds me of not going too thin, because like I said, it does not like to be very thin. It's probably going to be a long video. Yeah, I like that. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, set that to the side. 190 micron paint filter. Let's give it a strain, just to make sure we don't get any trash in it. Just in case we had any paint chunks. That's going to go in the trash. Now they want 10 to 15 minutes to let that come together, which by the time we get the other paint mixed up and get the paint booth set up, I'm going to put a cap on it. Set it to the side. Alright, now let's do this custom mix. Oh, I turned it off. So, I'm going to need a good bit of paint because I'm doing the chassis as well. So, silver sealer. I guess, what do I need for 20? So, 21. So, if I go 7. You can see, I don't know how well you can see that, but there is a metallic flake in this silver sealer. Get it up 7, and I'll bring it up closer to the camera. So hopefully you can see the silver flake in that. Alright, so we got 7 tear. Let's go 7 on the Cosmic Sparkle as well. We want a real heavy metallic silver. And this doesn't have a color. All it is a small pearl. A little too much, but it will be all right. Now this is Carbine Blue, Candy 2.0. And we'll go up 7 with this as well. Give this a good mix. So if you can see that, it's pretty thin, so I'm hoping turning down my air pressure and going a little faster, get some real light thin coats. So hopefully you can see just how heavy of metallic flake that is. That's what I want, a nice heavy silver metallic blue. And this will, it's hard to see, but even the silver sealer flake is pretty small, but the Cosmic Sparkle is even smaller, so it will kind of give you a 2 flake look. It'd be very hard to tell, but so that should be a really, really pretty blue. Let's get this out of the way. Get another clean cup. Another 190 micron. Strain it through. See, there's a little dry chunk of paint right there, or something. That's why you should strain. I'm gonna get a clean stick for this too. All right, so that's the sealer. That's the paint. Get a lid on it. Let it sit for a couple minutes, and I'm gonna get set up in the spray booth, and we'll start shooting. Okay, we're set up over here at the paint booth. Next thing I do before I paint, tack rag. Now I'm using a water-based paint, so I want to make sure and use a water-based tack rag. These are Gerson's. I get them off Auto Paint Supply. I can't remember the name of it. If I can remember the name of it, I'll put a link in the description. These are specific. These particular ones are specific to water-based paint. These are the ones that Createx actually recommends too. Does it mean you can't use them before you use a chemical paint? These are the only ones I use. So I just you know, you don't want it folded. You just want it jumbled up. You don't want to smash it down. Just give it a wipe off. You know, we're doing all the dust mediation we possibly can. I even got a Home Depot spray bottle. Spray the room off with some water and hope and pray for the best. So just tack it off a little. And a recent recommendation that I've recently acquired, I've used it a couple times, a Tamiya anesthetic brush. So we'll just give it a knockoff with the anti-static brush. Does it work? Does it do anything? I don't know. It might. They say it does. So I guess it helps remove any static. We'll get the chassis. Ooh, there's dust flying. I don't know. It must be in the brush. Ooh, Lord. I reckon I better, I don't know if y'all could see that, but boy, there was a bunch of static, bunch of dust that went flying. Hit it again with the tack rag to make sure the dust wasn't flying. I reckon I should possibly put that in a plastic baggie as well. Hood was already done. Get this back in, get it in the bag. Alright, so we want about 30 psi sealer. Let's see, I think I got some airbrush now. Seated. Put some lacquer thinner through it too. I'll be right back. Alright, I just wanted to make sure my airbrush was acting funny. I want to make sure it was cleaned out really well. Alright, so first we got the sealer. And we'll give this a mix right before we some in the airbrush. We're at 30 psi. pretty green right now. Alright, I'm going to give this a couple minutes here, set up. Right back. Alright, when you see the sheen is gone, it's ready for coat 2. I'm going to try to get a little heavier this time. We can get some coverage. Give a little dry tip there. Let it sit for a couple minutes. Be right back. Alright, so I did go back and add about 5% more reducer to the mix I had left. I noticed that I wasn't really getting the flow I should have, so hopefully this should be the last coat here. Alright, that's way better. Probably at overall about a 20% reducer in the sealer. They recommend 10% for full-size automotive applications, so look down in your chassis cracks and make sure you got good coverage in there. It's the hardest places to get into. Actually, I don't know how much of this is going to be showing. I don't think much. Alright, we'll let that sit a couple minutes, take a look at it, see if it needs any more. Be right back. Alright, before we get into the paint here, of course I cleaned out my airbrush. I used windshield washer fluid and alcohol, 25, 3 parts windshield washer fluid, 1 part alcohol. I did go ahead and put another coat on off camera, threw it in the dehydrator for about 15 minutes. Back and done some spot sanding, and one little spot I went through on that I had to touch up. If you don't have a dehydrator, that's fine. Let it sit out for an hour, a good hour and a half, 2 hours. Make sure it's good and dry sand it. I just use 1000 grit. I make sure I knock any little dust nibs off of it, and it's good to go. So we got a paint. Airbrush is cleaned out. Get my paint, another mix. I'm going to start off at about 20 psi here because this does seem pretty thin. If I'm not getting the flow, I'll turn it up a little at a time. Pretty good. Hopefully you can see that. Alright, let's start off on the bottom. I like it. I like it. I like this. I like that. I'm recording. Alright, we're going to let that sit up for a minute. And go check to see what Mom wanted. It sounded pretty important. Alright, we're back with coat 2. No, that was not good news at all. Mama's boyfriend, who lives in North Carolina, was in a motorcycle wreck. And sounds like he's in pretty bad shape. Alright, so before I add any more paint to this cup, just backwash it a little bit and get the metallic off the bottom. Mix the paint mix up again. Add some to the cup. And we'll go in with coat number 2. Oh yeah. Gotta say, I'm liking it. Liking what I'm seeing. Come on. I think this is going to do it. 2 coats. Alright, we'll let that sit for a couple minutes and we'll be right. Alright, I think the 2 coats there done the trick. Now, my understanding, and I can definitely tell a difference when I'm painting with metallics and pearls. There's something what they call a drop coat. There's also another terminology for it. I'm not sure what it is, but what you want to do is double your paint distance. And this is to get the flake to lay evenly. So that's what I'm going to do with my last coat here. This actually still looks a little wet. Dry it a little bit with some air. Alright, so it's just going to be a light coat of dust from a distance. Definitely still wet here. I don't think I'm going to worry about the chassis. I'm going to leave it like it is. So yeah, that is a custom mix with Createx. And once I can see the silver flake in this, when I clear coat this thing, that flake is going to just absolutely pop. Alright, that's all we got. We thank y'all for watching. Got Fuel's Model Car Garage.